Are you looking to level up your author business?
Are you pounding your head against a wall, wondering what your next step should be? Then join me, Daniel Wilcox.
And me, Sacha Black, as we haul ass each week in a bid to level up.
Level up!
Come along for the ride as we delve deep into the business of writing,
Craft,
entrepreneurship,
and every level of the author journey. This is the Next Level Author Podcast.
Hello, Achievers. This is episode 49 of the Next Level Author Podcast, a podcast where we hold each other to account and track our step-by-step progress as we level up our author businesses. My name is Daniel Wilcox, and here with me every week is...
Sacha motherfucking Black!
Yeah, boy! Wow.
How you doing?
That was an effort to get through that intro, which everybody
It was. We've been recording for about 3 hours now.
I know.
It's
Anyway.
light out. It was dark when we started.
How are you? How has your week been? And also, right, so for listeners, this is a short week for us. So there are going to be some slight changes to the typical broadcasting schedule. Normally we record on Friday mornings, and this is Wednesday lunch. So it's a short week. And so therefore we've only had a short week.
Yes. So my short week has been good. I took a weekend of relaxing and just, taking some time to chill and decompress after my manic sprint of book that I did over the last few weeks. So that's been good. And I am now currently sitting at 17,000 words of a new book that I started last Friday. So that's how I'm doing.
I really want to not be jealous, but I am just green with envy.
I'm like 3 chapters away from finishing. It's going to be a shorter book. I think I mentioned it last week, but it's basically a book on how to self-publish through, my lens. So it's not so much a craft book. It's not about like how to write the book. It's about all the stuff that goes in and around actual publishing, from coming up with like an idea that's marketable to getting a book on a platform and the basics of where to start with marketing. So it's stuff that I know in and out. It's stuff that like I'm just enjoying the process of just writing and getting it done. And because I have a sort of week gap between my schedules of what I'm working on, what I'm doing, I figured I'm just gonna have some fun and hammer it out. And yeah, it's happening. And I also, as part of that, did my first successful dabble with dictation. So I mean, I say successful. I haven't gone back to edit it yet, but I did. Sacha, what just happened?
Cat,
No,
it's
you can't let that go.
me.
That was tremendous. Like when you edit this, if you could just put that in slow motion, that'll be just go back to like a live draw of what just happened to your face.
Well, I was just looking down because the fucking look, you little bitch, stop it. She's just attacking me. I don't know what her problem is. I'm just gonna start crying.
Oh my god. I was going to say we're doing so well, but we weren't. So yeah, for people on the podcast, meet Grim as she attacks Sacha's foot, leg. What happened?
It's my foot. I don't know what her problem is. What's your problem, Kitty? Are you going to come and play? Anyway, should we get on with the podcast?
Yeah, dictation. I ended up laying 3,000 words of dictation yesterday morning. Again, I don't know. Like, it feels successful because I got words out in a decent time. I'm just going to keep going while you laugh. But I haven't gone back to edit yet, so I don't know whether those words are going to be worth anything when it comes to it. So I don't know. Like, my fingers still are in a position in which they are hurting, and I'm trying to find ways to make it so that they don't, and that I can, keep creating. But dictation might be the option.
I think you will be pleasantly surprised.
I hope so. It was hard.
Yeah, I think you will be pleasantly surprised. I reckon they will work, and they won't be as messy as you think. It may just be that you end up having to restructure like the order because they didn't necessarily come out in the right order. I don't know. It just depends how your brain works, really. But I think you'll be surprised. I think it's much easier to dictate with nonfiction than it is.
Yeah, I mean, that was the other thing as well. I don't know how it would pair up to fiction. And yeah, I'm aware that it's a new skill and it's not going to be like seamless into, making it all happen. But yeah, it was nice standing and talking the book, but it didn't feel like writing. But then you look at the page and it's like full of words. So yeah, it was strange. How's your week been? Is your foot okay?
Well, I don't know what.
Is your foot okay?
Yeah.
Good.
And the cat is now licking her vagina over in the corner. So, we're just going to leave her be. I am... I am on, oh God, right. Let me start by saying I'm tired. Very, very tired.
Running on fumes.
Yes, I am. Now, this is quite natural because I am approaching the end of a book. And I don't write books in the way that you write books, in that you just bash them out. I don't know, like they seem to take much more out of me than they seem to take out of you. I don't know why. Like you seem to have more book writing energy than me. I don't know. Writing
I think I'm just used to running on fumes.
Yeah, well, there is that. Anyway, I am officially on fumes, and which wasn't helped by last week where I worked every single night until like 10 p.m. Right. So on the weekend, which was definitely after we last recorded, I just was like a carpet slug for the whole of Saturday, and I just couldn't move. I couldn't think. There was no, like, I went outside and Chloe was like building in the garage and she was just like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, no, really not." And there was just nothing. There was no, it was like static white noise. And I napped, and then I napped yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Anyway, I'm really tired. And I feel like I need to change something in my process, I don't know, something has to change. I feel like books shouldn't be this draining to write this far into my career. So yeah, looking at stuff and things. I don't know what else I'm supposed to say here.
I think so No, like I've said a few times, like we have our occasional strategy days and I often come away from them feeling better. And I don't necessarily believe it's always because of like what we've come out of in terms of like stuff that we action. But I think just the chance to stop and review and to kind of just get perspective of where you're at in the process, like what you wanted to achieve, different things. Because you're set, and this is like the royal you, not just you. You'll set your goals and you think you want to achieve by certain points throughout the year. And then life throws things left, right, and center. Like some things take longer, some things are quicker than you planned. And within like a 3-month period, everything that you planned can just be totally derailed, which is why I don't often subscribe to like very, very specific like 10-year plans. I much more prefer, and this was like a concept that I stole from Luke, was that I much more prefer like planning the quarters and then just not planning every quarter for that year, but just planning a quarter in advance, because then you have your overall year of what you want to achieve holistically, and then each 3 months is just a checkpoint depending on where you've been to show where you're going to go. But
yeah, I use the Clever
like
Fox planners to do that, because I like planning a quarter. I mean, I have like year goals, but also I like to only plan a quarter in advance. So yeah, I use the Clever Fox planners to do that. So for our 1-year anniversary podcast show, we are going to go live. We are going to record the episode live. Hopefully it won't be as much of a total clusterfuck as...
Oh, come on, it'll be unfiltered.
I know, exactly.
Like
it's probably
all
going to
the
be
like 12
carnage.
to 33 minutes of shite that we cut out.
Yeah. It's going to be absolute carnage and chaos. But what we are going to do is we are going to stream ourselves into the Facebook group, the Next Level Authors Facebook group, and record live. And then what we are also going to do is we are going to give the opportunity for patrons to sit in our Zoom call whilst we are recording. So if you are a Next Level Author patron, you will be able to witness this in our Zoom room. And if you're not a patron, then you can watch it in the Facebook group. But for patrons, we will allow so what we're going to do is we're going to get you guys to ask we're going to get you guys to ask us the question of the week. So yeah, and I'm sure there'll be fun and games and all of this nonsense. So we'll give you more details about how exactly it will run and all of that good stuff when we've organised it. Anything else you want to add?
I'm really excited to see how it pans out. It'll be fun. It'll be really fun. Yeah, it'll be good.
It will be good, and you guys are not going to want to miss it. I can promise
Definitely
you that.
Not. Oh, 100%.
Success of the week. Do we have one of those?
I've got a level up from Road. I had a level up from Scott, who said, after I said I would finish my novel for the Level Up Challenge, I immediately signed up for a challenge where I wrote a short story a week for a year. But it's been good for me as I finished 4 short stories and met the weekly deadlines every time. Writing the end 4 times has felt amazing. And this was actually sent a couple of weeks ago, so I imagine that Scott will be on a higher number than that now. But I think it was in one of our Patreon Q&As where he was talking as well about just, again, with a novel, with it being such a big thing, it's delayed gratification for a long time. Whereas with short stories, if you want to, keep powering through and rolling through, getting to the end obviously depends on the story you're writing, but it's a lot more achievable and helps you build that momentum to bigger things. That's pretty much like how my whole career started, was with smaller works into bigger works. So congrats, Scott. That's awesome.
Excuse me. Okay, do we have any new patrons?
We do. I did not have this. We are never
Lynn
prepared
Reed.
for this. Lynn Reed. Hey, Lynn.
We are so rubbish. My cat is trying to kill me.
Kick it. Welcome to the cult that is Next Level Authors. It's good to have you. What is really nice, and I genuinely mean this, from the bottom of my heart, is seeing lots of people's faces and their names in the groups just getting involved, and then obviously we never expect people to contribute that extra or to sign up for the behind the scenes stuff. This podcast is free and it will always be free. But when people do take that extra step, it genuinely means a lot to both of us that you support us and you want that extra good stuff. So thank you, Lynn. Thank you to everyone who's on our Patreon so far. Our next Patreon live will be this coming Monday, the 8th.
Yeah. So I think this will have gone live already, won't it? Yeah,
that is correct, because we're recording this earlier. So we had it last night. It was amazing. You said some really funny things about vaginas. For anyone that wants to get involved in our Patreon community, go over to patreon.com/Next Level Authors.
What have you enjoyed this week?
Oh, what haven't I enjoyed this week? I don't know.
Positivity number 4.
What have I enjoyed this week? So I've enjoyed discovering I don't know how to word this well. Basically, in prep for my productivity book, and one of the reasons I think it's taking as long as it is to write, is that I believed that I needed to read a load of nonfiction, take a load of notes, highlight stuff, compile everything, and really kind of go hard in terms of gathering quotes and different bits and pieces. But I've listened to a few episodes of Becca Syme's Quickcast in terms of some of my strengths. And one thing that I've realized is because I have learner and input quite high up, it's my 3 and 4. I was under the assumption that for some reason I needed to have this store this database, this archive of things that if I like it, I dump it in there. And there's still a part of me that kind of wants that. But what I've discovered is that I'm actually I'm a constant I'm a constant learner, I'm a constant mover, and I retain information quite well. So there are a couple of books that I was really excited to read that I've just read the first 10 pages and put to the side. And I've been trying to figure out why I'm not motivated to read them. And it's just because I want to read them and just absorb what they're saying without having to stop every 5 seconds to take notes. And that's just how I work. It doesn't mean in any way that I'm not a learner or that I'm not like processing stuff, because I absolutely am. But it does mean that how I've been approaching my reading has been wrong, because it was based off of an assumption that I should be doing a certain thing that just doesn't work for me. So I've enjoyed the fact that that's unlocked, and I'm starting to up my reading again.
So funnily enough, reading is also the thing that I have enjoyed this week. I set a goal of reading 100 books this year, which I haven't really said publicly, I don't think. I think on my public Goodreads, it's like 52, which is what it normally is. And I really worried that I wasn't going to be able to do it, because since my son has been born, at most I average about 50 pages a night read. And so I was like, how am I going to do this? Like, how is this going to be a thing? But I just rigidly wanted to read 100 books for no other reason than it was a ridiculous goal, or what feels like ridiculous to me. I know there are some people that read like 300 books a year, but that ain't ever going to happen for me. It was like just far enough out of my reach that it would put me out of my comfort zone. Which is where I like to be, but also not so unrealistic that I'd never be able to do it. So, I mean, I think I've averaged between 60 and 70 odd books. So it's about a 30% increase, like in my reading speed. Well, so far this year, I've read 21 books, and we're like at the start of March. And it's just a reminder to myself that I can't actually do anything. I just have to decide that I'm going to do it. So that's number one. I've really enjoyed that reminder. I've really enjoyed the competition pennies that this has given me. And like, or maybe even like the achiever, like now I've gone over 20% of my goal. I'm approaching 25% of my goal. And it's also helping my input as well. Like, one of the biggest ways I derive energy pennies for like my need for input is by reading. And I hadn't been prioritizing reading. I would watch TV. Actually, I say that and I really don't watch very much TV, but you know, I would do other things, or I would just continue to work all night. And by having this arbitrary goal, I feel like I'm gathering more input pennies as well. And yeah, so now I'm averaging like 100 pages a night, and like I didn't think I was going to be able to do that, and I am doing that, and I'm really enjoying that. And it also means that I have the chance to read a few longer books, because I'm a few books ahead of my goal, but also because I'm reading faster, and so therefore, you know, a 500-page book isn't as daunting anymore as it used to be. So yeah, I'm really enjoying reading. And that's it.
It's good as well, because I think like I've had this conversation with a few writers where quite a few of them, they'll watch loads of TV programs and stuff because, like I said, it's an easy way to input story. And I'm not knocking it anyway. Like there are some fantastic shows out there. But for me personally, if I'm writing a book, I have to be reading. I'm sure I've said this before. I have to be reading something alike to what I'm trying to create in order to absorb and just explore the language and see the written word. Because for me, the written word, if I'm writing a story, I would rather know that I'm approaching the right way based off of like other books that I've read that I respect, as opposed to like watching a TV show and knowing that like the story's on track, but the language isn't quite like somewhere in my head to draw from.
I completely agree. I'm exactly the same. My critique partner, though, is the other way around. So when she's writing, she does not read at all, like period. She will not read. Because I write all of the time, that's not a possibility for me. I can't imagine being that way, but that's what works.
I love the idea of like just storing story to a point you can just outpour during a book.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I just like reading every day.
Okay, so we're not going to do weekly confessional this week because we've had like half of a week pretty much.
And Sacha failed.
Shut up.
I failed too.
Anyway, comments.
Last week's question was why non-fiction? And obviously we haven't got the full breadth of people who commented because we're doing this early, but we did have Victoria LK Williams, who said, I helped my husband write his non-fiction and hated it. Both of his books are about gardening, and although I love and work in the field, it was too much to come home and write about it. It bored the heck out of me. I need to let my imagination flow and write a good murder. Maybe that's my way of working out my day's frustration, killing off a character or two. If your husband is listening to this, I can only apologise. Bobby and Atwood says, y'all are killing me with these last few episodes. We've had tits on a chair, next level teasers, and now Megamuff. I haven't thought about non-fiction.
Megamuff?
Oh, it was last week. Go back and re-listen. I get the same. I come off for these episodes and I forget half of what I've spoken about within the thing, but we did mention Megamuff.
Okay.
I haven't thought about non-fiction. I'm a bit too green in my writing journey to feel that I have any kind of solid process for anything. But now I'm focusing on devouring all the non-fiction I can. Also, glad to know I'm not the only one staring down the barrel of 30 years old. October is cackling and rubbing its hands as I inch closer to my birthday. I'll let you know how it feels. I imagine that turning 30 won't be much different to any other birthday I've had. We'll see when I'm crying.
31 was worse for me than 30. I quite enjoyed 30. 31 was devastating.
Interesting. Maybe that's your question for next week. Edwin Downward said, other than creating step-specific how-tos for procedures I use at my other side gig to document how I do things in case that gig ends, I have never delved into non-fiction and feel no reason to start now. The subject isn't on the table. And then we also had comments from Meg and Francesca. So thank you very much for those guys.
Okay, cool. So question of the week. We asked our patrons for some questions. And so we have had a couple of patrons give us questions. And so we will sprinkle these throughout the next few weeks. Juliet's asked a couple of questions, so I'm going to roll these into two. So Juliet says, how do you judge your progress / momentum? I know you've done a what is success, but I'm curious how you know that you're on the right path and when you need to pivot.
How do I track my progress and momentum? That's a really tricky question to ask. I think most of what my progress and momentum was judged by, particularly early on, when I was solely just working on putting out books and writing fiction, was, am I doing more than I did last year? So in the beginning, I knew that I'd written a novella in 2015. In 2016, started the Other Stories podcast and started the Story Studio podcast, and had written the first drafts of 2 novels with Luke, which were then published in 2017. And then just each year was kind of like a checkpoint of, I was judging it very much by how many books did I put out. And so just building up the product, because it was all like, the advice is always build up your backlist and then you'll have more to direct readers at when, you strike gold. So that was originally my writerly progress checker. Every year I did also do a summary update of basically all the things I'd done associated with my business that year. So I did a couple of those, 2016, 2017, and then stopped doing them because I became too busy. But I did one last year. And they were really useful. It's just providing an end of year, almost like review of the stuff that you put out into the world, and like a reminder of what you've done. Gives you a chance to look at, whether, if you're writing in different genres, how many books you're doing in certain genres and throwing about and whatnot. I think it's hard to tell progress and momentum, because progress you can only see when it's behind you. It very much feels constantly like the wheels are spinning on like a dirt road, and it's only 3-4 weeks later you look back and realize that you can't see the same things that you used to see. So I don't know if this is a very good answer, but I don't really have a good measure of that. You can look in many ways. You can look at, are you improving financially each year? Are you sort of making meaningful connections each year? I think ultimately, in order to track progress, it's just about review and factoring times to check in to see. I know that you do a monthly review. I'm kind of doing monthly reviews at the minute. I definitely do like a yearly review, and that helps me see. But it doesn't necessarily tell you that you're going on the right track. I don't know. This one's hard. This one's really, really hard. I don't know that you can ever know that you're going on the right track, and the reason I say that is because there have been so many times in which I've been going in a certain direction and then I have pivoted, and the pivots tend to come from gut and from like an organic just move towards certain places. So I know we mentioned last week, obviously your revelations about genre in terms of where you're looking to write, and it's like what brings you to those pivots other than allowing yourself to listen to the things that you generally want to do, that also align with the things that are bringing you joy, bringing you income. You know, it's a whole myriad of factors. It's quite hard to determine. So I don't know. Have you got anything on that? Because I'm really struggling with this one.
Yeah, for me, this one's super easy to answer.
Okay.
So it starts with goal and knowing what you want. So in order to be able to like track and judge your progress or your momentum, I feel like I have hard tracks and soft tracks, like hard judge and soft judge. But in order to do that, I have to know where I'm going. And so regardless of the what of what I'm doing in terms of like, do I write contemporary? Do I write fantasy? Do I, am I like going in the right direction? My overall goal is to have financial freedom, to have physical freedom, like to be able to travel a lot and to write from anywhere in the world, to be able to take my son and show him the world and all of this stuff. So, and to be able to do what I want, when I want, how I want. And so that is always a marker in the ground by which I can judge my progress against. And so the hard track is I have a word count tracker, I have a financial tracker, I have a stats tracker. So I track all of my social media, I track my mailing list every single month, I track how much money I have brought in every single month. And I have been doing that for years. And I track, I also track my word count and have been tracking my word count for years. I think I've been doing it for 4 years, but this year I've moved to a digital tracker, whereas before I used to handwrite it on a calendar. And so you have to, so there are physical, like hard, tangible measurements, but those measurements only tell you so much. They can tell you numbers, they can tell you what you've earned and whether or not that is bigger than the last month or bigger than the last quarter or whatever. But that doesn't really track the thing that is most important to me, which is happiness. And so that's the soft track. And it's a constant questioning of like, are you happy? Is what you're doing making you happy? And so the reason this is so easy for me to answer is literally because you prodded my grey matter a couple of weeks ago, could have been a month ago now, I don't know. And you asked me, how many of the things am I doing for me, like in my business? And that really shook me because I'm not doing an awful lot for me. And so that's why I know something needs to change, because I created this business. Like one of the quotes that I love is create a life you don't need to take a vacation from. And that's pretty much what I've done. Like I want to work on my days off because I'm that way inclined. I'm just created like that. That's my achiever and everything else. But also because I fucking love my job. Like I literally love my job. I love everything that I do, more or less. And therefore I want to do it. And so that is a measure of progress and momentum. But also it's a reality check when I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not actually really doing many projects for me. I'm doing the projects that I know are going to make money as opposed to the projects that are filling me with joy. And so I think if you have a goal and you know what your goal is, and that can be tangible, like X amount of money per year, or it can be intangible, like being able to have the freedom mentally to step out of my office and go and spend time with my family guilt-free. It's like you have the tangible and the intangible. And as long as you know those things that you want to achieve, then you can track your progress. And sometimes that means hard figures, and sometimes it means like a feeling or a sensation. So yeah, like, and in terms of when you need to pivot, it's when you veer off that path and it doesn't feel right, or you've lost income, or it's not making you happy anymore. Because sometimes you can veer off the path for the right reason. Like there are things that we're doing in the background that neither of us plan to do together, and yet we're doing them because it's the right thing. Does that, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the reason that I find the difficulty in answering this question comes back to just my own experience in terms of my writing. So like I got onto what is essentially the rapid release treadmill the end of 2017. And I remember that in my head, I was like, okay, all I need to do is like work my ass off for the next 6 to 12 months, and then things are going to pay back dividends. And it's nearly 4 years later, and I still haven't come off of that. I'm still in a position like, and it's not that I haven't enjoyed the things that I've done. It's not that like I feel like really I've done anything wrong along the way. It's just, I guess, number one, I found the joy and the passion in terms of like working my ass off to try and get something. And I'm creatively fueled by dozens of different things. There's a lot that I want to do, so I try and cram in as much as possible. But I think it's more just like sometimes you have to grind in order to get to where you want to be. And where I want to be is in a position in which I can like just take my time, write beautiful fiction. I want to like get in a position where I can help sort of authors to the best of my ability. And although a lot of that's happening, I've still got other things that are keeping me afloat financially that I'm not in a position yet to cut off, that I just need to grin and bear, because that's the reality of like where I'm at.
I think a lot of writers who are not yet full-time underestimate the grind, because as an indie author, it does not matter if you are in KU and rapid releasing, or if you are wide and only releasing a couple of books a year, there is still a grind, and it's fucking hard. And when you turn this into a day job, like it is
that
a
grind
day
doesn't
job.
go away.
That grind doesn't go away. Like, yes, we get to have a lot of fun, like making shit up and lying for a career, you know, and creating characters and whatnot. But it's still a grind. Like, you have to grind out those words, otherwise you don't grow your income. You have to do the admin, the marketing, the networking. Like, it is hard. And so I think that it's deceptive to try and measure, like, I don't know. We have obviously made progress, and we can feel momentum because we used to be full-time employed. You know, we have made progress from that first year of self-employment because we're earning more money than we were back then. You know, so there are measures, but also I don't want people to feel like this is, I don't want to burst balloons, but also it is a grind and it's hard.
And I think progress is also very, very individual, because if you look at it on paper, when I quit the day job and went full time, most of my first 6 to 9 months was solely just working on ghostwritten books. You know, I was getting into the pattern of it, I was getting to the field, I was getting to understand the clients and what they wanted. So that was my job. I was simply writing books. That was it. That was all my income was, apart from like fiction royalties from other projects I've worked on. But in terms of like the active stuff that I was doing, ghostwriting was the thing. And then if you look at it now, I'm still doing the equivalent of that ghostwriting, but I'm also currently writing my own book. I'm also doing this podcast with you. I'm also still the host of the Great Writers Share. I'm also coaching authors. Like, I've found ways to pack my time with more stuff. So on paper, that's progress in terms of like my business is growing and I'm doing more things and I've got like more diverse income streams. But in terms of personal progress, I'm still taking on client work, which is a position I don't want to be. And I don't like, although on paper it seems good that I've got all these opportunities and like I'm incredibly thankful for them all, like I do want to minimize and I do want to streamline and I do want to bring that back down again, because that is where my happiness will be. That's where I can kind of restore myself and take more time off and balance my life a bit better. But again, it's a grind and that has to come. So yeah, I think that to sum this up, the bottom line is you have to in some way track what you're doing. You need to in some way have that North Star, like you said, and you just need to review and occasionally look back and give yourself checkpoints to go, am I where I wanted to be at this point? Like we asked the question, or you asked the question a couple of weeks ago, like 2 years out nearly, are we where we wanted to be? And sometimes you're not, and that's fine because things take a turn. Sometimes you're not because you've done something that hasn't translated into where you want to be. So just putting in those checkpoints, those review moments to stop and go, is this working? I mean, when was our last strategy day? That was like
months
November
ago. No,
before that. Might have been September.
I think it was more like summer.
So that was a while ago. So yeah,
Well,
we're
it was
long
in
overdue.
your flat in Lincoln when you made dinner and
Flat. It was a house.
sorry, house
It's
in
a
Lincoln.
beautiful house.
And I met your friend, so that it was back then.
Yeah. So that was
when was that?
July, August. No, September. I'm sure that's September.
Okay. That's a long time not to have had a strategy day.
Yeah. The point is like I say, even though we might not necessarily use everything we come out that day with, just having the chance to stop helps. And holidays. I want a holiday.
God, I really need a holiday. Like I need to stop working for a bit. I can't remember the last time, like more than a weekend that I took off. I literally can't remember. I don't think it was last year. I don't think I've taken off more than 3 days in over a year consecutively. More than that.
Yeah.
When did I go away? Okay, it's more like 18 months, I think now. That's bad.
Was there a second part to that question we're missing? Or
well, I think we've kind of answered it. How do you know you're on the right path, and when do you need to pivot, and when you need to pivot? I think we have covered it. Okay, how are we leveling up our business this week?
Continuing the things that we've not yet done for the week before.
No, I'm not.
You switching yours? I need to still sort out my quarter two. I've done the thing where I've prioritized. If you hear a dog barking, it's because someone's at the door. Is that? I'm not going to do a Sacha.
If you hear the door going, it's because someone's at the door.
Okay. Oh, shut the fuck up. So I am going to, sort out my quarter two. I have prioritized my upcoming workloads. That's fine. Finish this book. That'll be one of them.
Yeah.
Finish first draft of this book, and action a VA.
Oh, that's exciting. I am going to work on side characters because I need to get this fucking book finished. But I'm not saying that I'm going to finish it because
it'll be finished by the time it says. It will.
I'm not going to agree to that. I'm just
not saying you have to agree to it. I'm just telling you it's going to happen.
The only thing I am going to put on my list, because that is the only thing I should be doing apart from podcasts and ally work, is the book. So that's it. I'm not going to allow myself to do anything else or be distracted or put anything else on my to-do list. That's it.
Get it done.
So audience question of the week then is the question that we just asked, which was, how do you judge your progress / momentum? And we will see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Hungry for more?
If you enjoyed this podcast, you can hear more of my angelic accent and Dan's dulcet tones on our other podcasts.
For more of me, check out the Great Writer Share podcast.
For more of me, listen to the Rebel Author podcast. We'll be back next week holding each other to account as Dan
and Sacha
become
next level
authors.
I'm going to move that bowl.
The illusion of tidy office.
We'll need the illusion. Make it brighter, hopefully less wrinkles on the face. Oh, you're recording. Fuck. Shit, I've just signed my own death warrant. Fuck.
Yes, you have. I know what the Easter egg's gonna be this week.
I've still got the missing clip from last week that people didn't hear. So you might want to be careful what you do with the Easter egg.